Today, we're going to talk about the truth about Duante Wright and Officer Kim Potter. I'm sure you already know, because it's in the news pretty much everywhere, that Officer Kim Potter shot Duante Wright at what seems like a routine traffic stop or traffic violation. There's a lot more to that story than just that narrative, though. So we're going to jump in and find out everything that we know so far. And then I'll get into my opinion a little bit later. But we'll first start with the facts. If we look at this article from NBC News, they say that Duante Wright was stopped for expired plates, but driving while black may have been his, quote, crime. Now here, they're already poisoning the well. They're trying to say that he was pulled over maybe for a valid reason, but his real crime was being black. So we're going to ignore that because that's just opinion-based and there's no fact there. Another common myth is the idea that he was only pulled over for having air fresheners in his car, that he was supposedly blocking the rearview mirror with air fresheners, and that's why he was pulled over and eventually shot, and that's not true. As a matter of fact, he was pulled over for having an expired registration on the vehicle, at which point the officers then noted that he had an item hanging from his rearview mirror. So he wasn't pulled over because of the air freshener, they just noted it after they pulled him over for having expired registration. And here I want to point out that being pulled over for having expired registration is not abnormal. I was actually pulled over for that same thing a few years ago, and I ended up getting a ticket, I went to court, it wasn't a fun experience, but it happens. It's not as if they saw that he was black and then decided to find out some way to pull him over and he just happened to have an expired registration. After pulling him over and running his information, they found that he had a gross misdemeanor warrant for his arrest. Now, that warrant, at least at the beginning, there was just speculation about what it could have been because we didn't really know. But now we actually do. According to the New York Post, back in 2019, Wright and another man had been charged with first-degree attempted aggravated robbery for allegedly trying to steal $820 from a woman at gunpoint. Now, you can read through the entire story here. The article will be linked in the description down below. But essentially, he was arrested because this woman alleged that he held her at gunpoint, tried to steal her money, and at some point choked her. Now, that's not great at all. And so it makes sense that he was arrested for doing this. He was eventually let out on bail, but he violated his bail conditions in July when he failed to keep in touch with his court monitor. So essentially, he was released from jail on bail, but he didn't abide by the bail restrictions or conditions, and so a warrant was put out for his arrest. And yes, this warrant is 100% relevant, because the cops realized he had a warrant, and that's why they decided to arrest him. I've seen some people, including the amazing Lucas, who I sometimes actually like, he said that his criminal history is irrelevant. And in some cases, I would agree, but not when that criminal history is very relevant to the case at hand, because he had a warrant out for his arrest. So that is 100% relevant because the cops were aware of this warrant, and it was a warrant for something that's, pretty bad. Aggravated assault with an armed weapon is not a good thing. And now we're going to go to the body cam footage to see what exactly happened. This is presumably, once the cops know that he has a warrant out for his arrest, they go to his car to try and arrest him. And so they get him out of the car, they're trying to put on handcuffs, doesn't seem to be working very well, and here he breaks away from the cops and runs back into his car, presumably to drive away. And the cops try to stop him. You have Kim Potter take out what she thinks is a taser, because she says taser, taser, taser multiple times, but it's actually a gun. And then she fires and she shoots him. But after he drives away, after being shot, she tells her officers, like, holy crap, I shot the guy. And they're just kind of standing around like, what just happened? So this body cam footage, in my opinion, is very telling, and it changes the story completely. It's not as if she just pulled out a gun and shot him because he was black and she wanted to shoot a black guy. Nothing like that. She thought that she had a taser. Why else would she say taser, 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 and then be surprised that she had shot him with a gun? So this is very important. Now, after being shot, Duante Wright drove for a little while longer, but he eventually hit another car and he died on the scene because he didn't make it because he was literally shot with a gun. And after this happened, Kim Potter resigned from the force and has since been arrested on second-degree manslaughter charges, which is understandable. Now here, this is everything we know, and this is all of the information we have. And to be honest, I don't think we need any more information. It seems pretty clear what happened, albeit unfortunate and a tragedy, but it's clear. He was pulled over for a traffic violation. They found out he had a warrant for armed robbery. They tried to arrest him. He resisted arrest, got back in the car. This officer thought that she was grabbing a taser, but she grabbed a gun and she shot him. That seems pretty clear to me. Now, I 100% agree that she is responsible for his death. I've seen some people like Mark Dice say that she shouldn't be charged with anything, and that's insane. Of course she should. She made a mistake, 100%, but she still killed somebody. You can't say that a cop accidentally made a mistake and accidentally killed somebody, and there are no repercussions whatsoever. So I can't believe that anyone would say that she is not in any way responsible, because she is. And yes, he shouldn't have resisted arrest, but that doesn't change the fact that she thought she was going to tase him, but she shot him instead. Now, if she had tased him, that would have made complete sense, and I would have been fine with that, because he was trying to resist arrest and he had a warrant. So that seems completely reasonable. But she made a horrible mistake, which I don't understand how you can mistake a gun for a taser, especially when you've been on the force for 26 years. That's an awful long time, but it's still a mistake. So I've seen a number of people on social media say that she should be charged with murder, that manslaughter is not enough and it needs to be murder. And I don't agree with that at all. Looking at the body cam footage, there is no intent to kill here. I don't think there's any real intent to harm either. There's just intent to subdue. And intent to kill seems like a pretty important part when you're talking about a murder charge. Now, I'm no legal expert, but that's my understanding at least. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I don't think I am here. So manslaughter seems reasonable. She should be charged, and unfortunately, I think she should go to jail because once again, she did kill the guy. And it's not as if it was necessary. It didn't have to happen. She tried to tase him and she used the wrong weapon. That's a pretty big mistake. Now, many on the left are trying to use this as an example of more systemic racism on behalf of the police, that the only reason he was shot was because he was black. And I don't see any real evidence to support that. Once again, she tried to tase him, not shoot him, but she did it in a really incompetent way. So it has nothing to do, in my opinion, with race, because I don't see any racial aspect here. I'm not saying I don't see race, because, you can't say that. That's racist. But I am saying that she didn't intentionally shoot him because he was black. I don't see any evidence of that whatsoever. The body cam footage seems pretty clear. And then there are those on the right who are trying to focus on Duante Wright, saying that he shouldn't have resisted arrest and that he has all of these past run-ins with the law, which I somewhat agree with, but that doesn't change the fact that, yes, she accidentally shot him. She killed somebody, and there are repercussions for that because she wasn't in immediate danger or harm, neither were any of the other cops. It was an accident, it was a tragedy, but she's still responsible for it. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section down below and give me your reasoning why. Ultimately, this is the most reasonable outcome. She should not be charged with murder. Manslaughter seems reasonable. She will probably be convicted and go to jail for a time, and I think that makes sense based on the facts that we have. But it's important to take into account all the facts that we do actually have. No, he was not shot just because he had an air freshener hanging down in front of his rearview mirror. That's not what happened. He was shot because he resisted arrest and a cop made a mistake. And I don't think that pointing out that him resisting arrest is a bad thing in any way makes the cop less responsible for this. Because once again, she is going to be charged with something as she should, but he shouldn't have resisted arrest in the first place. That doesn't mean that he should have been shot because it's obviously not warranted, which is why she's going to be charged. But it does mean if you're pulled over by the cops, then you probably shouldn't resist arrest. At the very least, he was going to be tased, which I'm sure isn't a fun experience. So shouldn't resist arrest, and you also shouldn't mistake a gun for a taser because those have pretty deadly consequences. Once again, I'm not saying resisting arrest should get you killed because it should not. But I am saying that regardless, you shouldn't resist arrest, especially if you have a warrant for aggravated armed robbery, because that's not great. Anyway, thank you for watching, sharing, subscribing, and I'll see you next time.